Today I would like to invite you to listen to the Dhammapada of the Buddha Shakyamuni, the 101st verse from the Buddhist scriptures on the YouTube channel TN Thai in the USA. Better than 1,000 verses, comprising useless words, is one beneficial single line, by hearing which one is pacified. This verse teaches us about the profound value of a single word or line of wisdom when it reaches the heart with clarity and understanding. In the vast ocean of speech and writing, most words are repetitive, superficial, or distracted, serving only to fill time or amuse the mind temporarily. Yet a single line of insight, spoken or written with mindful intention, can touch the depths of our being and pacify the turbulence of the mind. The Buddha presents this verse to guide us toward a careful appreciation of speech and reflection, reminding us that true benefit is not measured by quantity, but by quality. When a mind hears a line that resonates with truth, the agitation of craving, fear, or confusion gradually softens. The heart finds rest, the mind clarifies, and insight begins to emerge gently. This is the true power of the beneficial line, more enduring than the empty repetition of thousands of words that scatter and vanish without leaving any mark on understanding or virtue. The story associated with this verse illustrates the principle vividly. A lay disciple approached the Buddha in confusion and distress. His mind had been occupied by many teachings, by much discussion, and by countless questions. He had listened to teachers and read many verses, yet his heart remained restless. Observing his inner agitation, the Buddha spoke only a single line: "Cease clinging, and freedom arises." The disciple reflected upon these words deeply. Though the teaching was brief, its meaning permeated his awareness, settling the turbulence of his thoughts and emotions. In that moment, the disciple experienced a level of pacification and clarity that hundreds of other words had failed to bring. This story demonstrates the essence of the verse. The quality, clarity, and truth of the word or line determine its effectiveness. When heard with attention and sincerity, even a brief utterance of the Dharma can produce transformation. The disciple's heart, which had been restless from excessive thinking and superficial instruction, became calm, showing that wisdom, not volume, produces enduring peace. The 101st verse also emphasizes the discipline of speech and the careful use of language in practice. In daily life, humans speak countless words, many of which are idle, reactive, or filled with attachment. The mind, untrained, often seeks to fill every moment with sound, distracting itself and others. Yet the Buddha instructs that speech should be purposeful, mindful, and beneficial. To speak with intention is to align speech with understanding and compassion. To listen mindfully is to open the heart to the power of the word. When a single beneficial line is spoken or read with awareness, it can pacify anger, reduce confusion, inspire right action, or awaken understanding. This is the heart of ethical communication in the Buddha's teaching. Less speech, spoken with clarity and truth, has more power than endless chatter. The verse is a timeless reminder that our words are instruments of Dharma and should be used with care, sincerity, and wisdom. Hearing is also a practice emphasized in this verse. The mind must be attentive and open to receive the benefit of a line of Dharma. The effectiveness of a teaching depends not only on its content, but also on the readiness of the listener. The Buddha often tailored his words according to the individual capacity of his disciples, speaking briefly when a few words were sufficient, and expansively when more explanation was required. When a single line resonates with the listener, it awakens reflection and insight. This is the pacification described in the verse, a gentle subsiding of confusion and agitation through understanding. It is not a superficial calm, but a quieting of the mind that leads naturally to deeper insight and clarity. The story of the lay disciple shows that the benefit of the word depends on attentive listening. The heart must receive it, reflect upon it, and allow it to resonate. This alignment between speech and attention brings the transformation that is the essence of Dharma practice. Furthermore, the verse invites us to reflect on the impermanence of words and the enduring value of wisdom. Thousands of verses may pass through memory and consciousness without leaving a lasting impact. Words spoken without understanding or mindfulness do not settle in the heart. They dissipate like smoke in the wind. In contrast, a single beneficial line, when heard and understood, carries enduring influence. It shapes thought, behavior, and perspective in a way that resonates across time. The Buddha highlights this to remind practitioners that the goal of learning and practice is not accumulation but transformation. We are encouraged to seek the words that awaken, pacify, and enlighten rather than to collect superficial knowledge. This teaching also calls us to cultivate discernment, to recognize what is beneficial, to attend to it with mindfulness, and to allow it to settle deeply within. The verse further illustrates the gentle economy of the Dharma. It is not verbose, nor does it demand complexity to be effective. The Buddha often communicated profound truths in simple, clear language that even a novice could understand. The effectiveness of a single line lies in its clarity, truthfulness, and capacity to awaken reflection. This demonstrates that the Dharma is accessible to all who listen sincerely and attentively. It is not the quantity of instruction that matters, but the alignment of wisdom, intention, and receptivity. By practicing attentive listening, reflection, and mindfulness, we open ourselves to the transformative effect of even a brief utterance, allowing it to pacify the mind and guide the heart toward liberation. The deeper meaning of this verse invites us to contemplate how a single beneficial line can transform the mind in ways that countless ordinary words cannot. The Buddha teaches that the mind is often distracted by the noise of constant chatter, unmindful conversation, and superficial engagement with teachings. These thousands of words fill the senses but leave the heart unsettled. They may entertain the intellect, but do not touch the deeper currents of understanding. In contrast, one line of Dharma, spoken with clarity and received with attention, can reach directly to the heart. It pacifies restlessness, quiets confusion, and awakens insight. The stories in the Dhammapada illustrate this. Repeatedly, one such story recounts a lay disciple overwhelmed by grief and fear. He had heard many teachings and philosophical discussions, yet his mind remained agitated. When he approached the Buddha, the teacher uttered only a single phrase: "All formations are impermanent. See clearly and be free." These few words, simple yet profound, penetrated the disciple's mind. He reflected deeply and realized the futility of clinging and the inevitability of change. In that moment, the turmoil in his heart softened, and a gentle peace arose. This experience demonstrates that the quality of speech, rather than its quantity, determines its transformative power. The disciple understood that insight arises not from accumulation, but from clarity, reflection, and internalization. This teaching also emphasizes the role of intention behind speech. Words spoken without mindfulness often reinforce delusion, attachment, and restlessness. Idle chatter, boasting, argument, and gossip fill the air, but rarely contribute to understanding or peace. In contrast, a single line spoken with wisdom, compassion, and clarity has the potential to pacify the mind, awaken reflection, and inspire ethical conduct. The Buddha illustrates this principle not only in interactions with disciples, but also in his teachings to lay followers, kings, and wandering seekers. Each word was carefully chosen, directed toward the specific circumstances and capacities of the listener. Even the briefest utterance, delivered with understanding, could illuminate the path of liberation. This demonstrates that mindfulness, clarity, and intention are essential components of beneficial speech. It is not the length or eloquence of words that matters, but the alignment of meaning, timing, and receptivity that brings pacification and insight. Furthermore, the verse encourages us to cultivate discernment as both speaker and listener. As speakers, we are invited to speak with purpose, guided by compassion and wisdom. Every word has potential consequences. Words can heal, inspire, and illuminate, or they can wound, confuse, and mislead. The Buddha repeatedly instructed his disciples to practice skillful speech, to refrain from idle or harmful talk, and to speak only what is truthful, beneficial, and timely. As listeners, we are encouraged to develop attention, openness, and reflection. Without readiness to receive, even the most profound teaching may not take root. The effectiveness of a single beneficial line depends on this alignment between the clarity of the message and the receptivity of the mind. This interplay of mindful speaking and mindful listening forms the foundation of pacification, understanding, and eventual liberation. The verse also teaches about the economy and elegance of wisdom. The Dharma does not require verbosity or elaborate explanation to be effective. On the contrary, brevity combined with depth is more powerful than lengthy discourse filled with trivialities. The Buddha often conveyed essential truths in concise phrases, short stories, or single lines of instruction. These words contained layers of meaning, allowing listeners to reflect deeply and apply the teachings in their own lives. The disciple, who hears such a line, is invited to contemplate, to meditate, and to internalize its significance. This process creates profound pacification because it engages the mind directly with truth rather than overwhelming it with excess information. In practice, we see that understanding comes not from the quantity of words, but from the clarity, sincerity, and alignment of the message with the listener's capacity and attention. Another important lesson from this verse concerns the cultivation of inner attention. The mind is often restless, moving from one thought to another, distracted by countless impressions, worries, and desires. Hearing a beneficial line becomes effective only when the mind is prepared to attend, reflect, and absorb its meaning. Meditation, mindfulness, and ethical living create the conditions for such attentive reception. Without these conditions, even profound words may pass unheeded. The Buddha's method often combined brief, precise utterances with guidance in ethical conduct and contemplative practice. This holistic approach ensures that the single line of Dharma resonates, pacifies, and transforms. The verse reminds us that the cultivation of inner clarity and attentiveness is inseparable from the reception of wisdom. By practicing ethical discipline, mindfulness, and reflection, we prepare the heart to receive the power of a single beneficial line. Finally, this verse emphasizes the gentle and enduring impact of wise speech. Unlike superficial words that fade quickly, a single line of wisdom continues to influence the mind long after it is spoken. It may inspire insight, encourage ethical behavior, or deepen meditation. The story of the lay disciple illustrates this point clearly. The brief phrase of the Buddha did not merely calm him temporarily. It planted a seed of understanding that grew, ripened, and guided his life. This demonstrates that beneficial speech, when delivered and received with mindfulness, has a lasting and transformative effect. It reminds us to speak with care, to listen with openness, and to value the quality of words above the quantity. By embodying this teaching, we cultivate peace in ourselves and others, transforming communication into an instrument of liberation and compassion. The 101st verse also guides us to contemplate the subtle power of timing and context in the effect of speech. A single beneficial line can pacify the mind most effectively when it is spoken in harmony with the readiness of the listener. In the Dhammapada, there are numerous accounts of disciples and lay followers who approached the Buddha at moments of confusion, doubt, or emotional turbulence. At times, the Buddha did not offer lengthy sermons or philosophical exposition. Instead, he provided a brief, carefully chosen line that resonated deeply with the condition of the seeker's heart. One such example tells of a monk overwhelmed by doubt about his practice. His thoughts were entangled in worry about the adequacy of his meditation and the obstacles he faced in spiritual progress. The Buddha observed his restlessness and simply said, "Do not cling. Observe and let go." This single line, though brief, directed the monk's attention to the essential practice, calming his mind, dissolving the intensity of doubt, and illuminating the path with clarity. In this way, the Buddha teaches that wisdom does not need to be abundant in quantity to be abundant in effect. The power lies in precise, mindful expression aligned with the needs of the moment. Furthermore, the verse illuminates the profound relationship between speech, reflection, and realization. A line of wisdom is not merely informational. It serves as a mirror for contemplation, prompting the listener to investigate the nature of mind, desire, attachment, and the impermanent world. When a disciple receives a beneficial line with attention, the mind naturally begins to explore its meaning. This reflection fosters insight, reduces confusion, and pacifies the turbulence caused by unwholesome thoughts. The story of the lay disciple illustrates this process. After hearing the Buddha's single line, he did not immediately understand all the implications. Instead, he reflected, meditated, and observed the arising and passing of thoughts in his mind. Gradually, the single phrase unfolded into layers of understanding, clarifying the causes of suffering and the path to liberation. This demonstrates that the pacifying effect of a beneficial line is not passive. It activates the mind's innate capacity for contemplation, insight, and self-realization. The listener becomes an active participant in the awakening process, guided by the clarity and simplicity of the teaching. The verse also emphasizes the cultivation of discernment in choosing what to speak. Each word carries potential consequences, shaping thought, emotion, and action in oneself and others. The Buddha repeatedly instructed disciples to speak with intention, kindness, and clarity. Idle chatter, boasting, and words motivated by attachment or aversion create restlessness and confusion. In contrast, a single line that embodies understanding, truth, and compassion has a direct and positive influence. Even one line can pacify deep-seated mental disturbances, dissolve habitual patterns of craving, and foster wholesome behavior. This illustrates the ethical dimension of speech in the Dharma. Mindfulness, intention, and insight in communication are as important as meditation and ethical conduct. By practicing these principles, we align speech with liberation and cultivate harmony within ourselves and with others. Moreover, the verse encourages the practice of attentive listening. The benefit of a single line depends not only on the clarity and wisdom of the speaker, but also on the openness, humility, and reflection of the listener. A distracted mind, preoccupied with superficial concerns, may miss the profound meaning of a line. Yet a mind prepared by ethical discipline, mindfulness, and meditation receives the teaching fully, allowing it to pacify, illuminate, and inspire. In the scriptures, we see disciples who attained insight after reflecting on a brief utterance of the Buddha. Their experience shows that the interplay between attentive listening and mindful speaking is essential for the transformative effect of Dharma. The verse teaches that a single line, received with awareness and contemplation, has the potential to calm mental turbulence, awaken understanding, and foster enduring inner peace. The verse also reminds us of the enduring value of simplicity. In a world often overwhelmed by complexity, verbosity, and distraction, the Buddha points to the profound effectiveness of concise, meaningful instruction. A single line can encompass truth, ethical guidance, and spiritual inspiration, offering more benefit than countless trivial words. This principle extends beyond verbal communication into all aspects of practice. Meditation, ethical living, and daily conduct benefit from clarity, simplicity, and focus. When the mind is anchored in simplicity and clarity, the transformative power of Dharma becomes accessible in every moment. By internalizing this teaching, we cultivate a mind that appreciates the essence rather than the abundance of words, a heart that seeks depth rather than quantity, and a life that values understanding over superficial accumulation. Finally, the verse emphasizes the harmony of insight, reflection, and practice. Hearing a single beneficial line pacifies the mind because it engages the listener in contemplative inquiry. The disciple not only hears but reflects, integrates, and applies the teaching, creating the conditions for lasting transformation. The story of the lay disciple shows how a brief line can calm confusion, awaken discernment, and guide the mind toward liberation. The Buddha's teaching is gentle yet profound. Wisdom does not require excess. It requires clarity, attention, and alignment with the listener's readiness. This principle can be applied in our daily lives, reminding us to speak with care, listen with awareness, and reflect with sincerity. In doing so, even a single line of Dharma becomes a source of enduring peace, insight, and compassion. As we bring this reflection on the 101st verse to a close, let us hold in our hearts the wisdom it conveys. The Buddha teaches that one beneficial line, spoken with clarity and received with attentive reflection, surpasses 1,000 words that are idle, superficial, or distracted. The verse guides us to cultivate mindfulness in speech, attentiveness in listening, and depth in reflection. It reminds us that the transformative power of the Dharma lies not in volume, but in precision, clarity, and alignment with the readiness of the mind. By practicing careful speech, thoughtful listening, and sincere reflection, we allow even a single line of wisdom to pacify the heart, awaken insight, and guide us toward liberation. This teaching encourages us to consider how we communicate in our daily lives. Are our words idle or mindful? Do we speak with intention and compassion, or do we allow chatter and distraction to dominate? Are we ready to listen with openness, reflection, and humility? By bringing awareness to these questions, we align our lives with the essence of the Dharma. Each word becomes an instrument of peace, each moment of attentive listening a doorway to insight. The 101st verse reminds us that the power of the Dharma is gentle, precise, and enduring. A single line, spoken with wisdom, can calm the mind, illuminate the heart, and guide us toward awakening. Thank you for watching my video. Namalamat Ba. I wish to bring this merit towards all disciples and sentient beings, all of whom will attain Buddhahood. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate your time.